So I'm sorry I gotta be gone again today, but we're gonna go ahead and finish up our systems of equations stuff with a day of word problems. And now your word problems here are not gonna require anything new, and the way they're written are gonna be written in very straightforward form. And you see here, we're just gonna go through an example, probably 2 or 3 examples here in this video, and just make sure you understand the concept that we're working with here. The solving should be very, very familiar to you. You've done the solving for about 5 or 6 days now. We're just looking at writing the equations from a word problem. So if you go ahead and read number 1 here. It talks about selling adult tickets and student tickets. So that's always how we're going to start the equation, is we're going to define our variables. Now I'm going to use x and y. If you want to use a and s for x for adult, if you want to use a for adult and s for student, that's fine. I'm going to use x and y just because I don't want to work with s, because an s can look like a 5. So therefore I'm going to use x and y. Now, once we've identified what our 2 variables are, and that'll usually come from the question piece. When you read the question, what is the price each of 1 adult ticket and 1 student ticket? That tells you what we're trying to find. Now we need to write a system of equations that we can solve for an adult ticket and a student ticket. To do that, we read this sentence here. 6 adult tickets and 12 student tickets sold for a total of $126. Well, that's an equation. 6 adult and 12 student sold for $126. That's an equation. All we have to be able to do is read that part of the sentence and write as an equation. Our second sentence after that, our second equation, is going to come from here. The school made $28 selling 2 adult and 2 student, and that brought in $28. All the questions will be presented in a similar format to this, where it'll be very straightforward within the statement. 6 adult, 12 students earned $126. You earned $28 for 2 adult and 2 student. They're written very straightforward, and from here we have x lined up, y lined up, and our numbers lined up. So I'm going to multiply by -3 in order to cancel out my x's. I get -6x, -6y, and -84. Now I can cross off that equation, and I can combine my 2 equations, making it 6y equals 42. I divide by 6. Y is 7. Now, it's really important we take this first step over here when we defined our variables, because that tells me what it means when I get y is 7. That means a student ticket costs $7. So this step is very important, because that represents what our answer means. That y means $7. So then, in order to get x, I'm going to take my second equation here and do 2x plus 2 times 7 equals 28. So that's 2x plus 14 equals 28, minus 14. 2x equals 14, and I divide by 2. X is also 7. So again, if I look back at my original information, that means an adult ticket and a student ticket were both $7. Alright, so we're going to go through 2 more examples now, and these 2 examples, I'm not actually going to go through the solving steps. I'm just going to set them up. I'm going to go with the assumption you know how to solve the systems now. So if we read this second one here, we're talking about fruit for a school fundraiser, and if we read the last sentence, it says, what is the cost each of a small box of tangerines and a large box of tangerines? So there's our 2 variables. X is a small box, y is a large box of tangerines. That's our 2 variables. Those come from the last sentence. Then I look at my sentences with numbers in them, and here I see Kim sold 8 small and 7 large. 8 small, and 7 large for a total of $131. And I read the next sentence, Daryl sold 13 small and 14 large for a total of $247. So by reading those sentences, I can write my system of equations. Now I have this system I can solve. And again, I'm not going to go through the solving steps in the example because I think you can look at that hopefully and see 7y and 14y. So I'm going to multiply the top equation by -2 in order to cancel them out. So our final example here is going to be rose bushes and geraniums. So if you read number 3 and you look at the last sentence, you'll see the cost is asking for the cost of a rose bush and the cost of a geranium. And we always start, again, we need to define our variables. When we get to our answer, we need to know when we get x equals whatever, that means that's how much a rose bush costs. When we find y equals whatever, that's the cost of a geranium. So let's go ahead and read our 2 sentences with meaningful information in them. James spent $59 on 7 rose bushes and 8 geraniums. So right there I have my equation, 7x plus 8y equals 59. Finally, Shanice spent $26 on 4 rose bushes and 2 geraniums, and we said that was a total of $26. So I have rose bushes plus geraniums equals money on both of them. So now I have an equation, a system of equations that I can solve. So you're going to have to finish this. You won't have to finish up the examples. You'll have to do the worksheet using these examples to do the word problems today.